Hello, everyone. Today, I'm going to be talking about the new Marvel movie, The Eternals. Um, and let's get started on that. So, fair warning, I saw this like almost open. I think I saw it opening weekend. I just didn't record this review for a while. And I think you'll see why as I needed to sit with this a little bit more and kind of break it down in my own head before I talked about it. I will do spoilers, but I'll start off by saying before spoilers, I'll do some basic reviews. And I think that if you're a fan of Marvel, I think you've already watched this movie, right? So if you're coming here to say, like, if you're coming here to know whether or not you should watch this movie, basically this is another group of superheroes movie, getting to see these more elements of power and stuff like that. Honestly, if you enjoy Marvel movies, I think you'll have a decent time with this. I think that it's not the worst Marvel movie. It's definitely not the best Marvel movie. I definitely think you can hold off on watching it. I don't think it's like oh wow, you really need to go see this moment. It's another you know average Marvel movie. And average for Marvel tends to be, for me at least, I would say above average overall. It's a fun action movie. That's what I will say. Um, so positives overall, I think that it does a good job with a few characters specifically. I think with Icarus and Cersei and oh gosh, I have no idea what Kit Harrington's name is. Um, what his name is in the movie, what his character's name is. I can't remember at this point, but I think there's a few of those. Like they have some good depth to a few of them, but one of my biggest problems, actually we're gonna say spoiler warning from now on. So if you want to go see it, I would say hold off until it's you can stream it on Disney Plus if you have Disney Plus. It's definitely not something I'm jumping out of my seat to go see. Um, let's do some critiques though of this movie. So the biggest thing that I think is holding back this movie is that it does not, and this is a long film, but it does not have enough runtime to tell the story of all of these characters. There are, I believe, 10 if you don't count the Celestials or the deviant character. If you just count the main, I think 9 plus Kit Harrington, you're sitting at 10 characters already. And I've not written or have not taken a screenwriting class specifically. I've done a little bit in my own free time of studying on it, but I have done playwriting, which does share elements. Um, and if I had come to class, even with a full length play, and said, okay, hear me out, I've got 10 main ish characters that you need to know and pay attention to, I would have been told to go revise my work. There is not enough time in the 2 hours 20 minutes whatever that the story has to tell the story and get the depth of all of these characters. This is by far a setup movie for the future of the MCU and Phase 4 and Phase 5 and going into the future. Um, I think that this could have benefited a lot from either being two parts or being a Disney Plus series. I would have put this as a TV series first. Now, I understand why they didn't do that. You're not getting these big name actors. You're not going to get the same budget with a Disney Plus TV series as you are for a, film. But there is just there's just not enough time to really get to care about these characters. And they do, don't get me wrong, I will say this as a pro. They do a really good job of getting us to at least kind of care about a lot of these people and getting to know them very quickly. It is insane how fast that they do that in this movie. Um, but I don't, I know, I would say that I know Icarus, I know Sprite, and I know Cersei the most, and then everyone else kind of fills in, and there's good character elements and relationship building. I really liked Druig throughout the film. I thought he was really interesting. I liked his moral questioning about I can control these people, so why don't I control them to not fight each other? Why are we allowing this to happen? And those elements I did really like. I think it would have benefited from a lot more time to tell the story of these people. And when we think about stories like Endgame, like movies like Endgame, Infinity War, stuff like that, there are we have the context of this gigantic story because we have all these other individual films that focuses on a couple characters, and that's all it focuses on. And then you can combine them together because you have the context of these characters coming into the film where they all do team ups and stuff like that. So we have a bit more depth by the time we get there, and we don't need these characters to be, described to us. We don't need them to become characters. We already know who they are. This is brand new people. We have no idea who they are. And I think, I think to Guardians of the Galaxy as an example of a movie that did this super, super well. I think Guardians of the Galaxy did it probably the best that could be done. They only had 5 to worry about, realistically. I guess you've got like Nebula as well and a couple other side characters, but really they focus on the main 5. And doubling that it's a lot. I could not really, like, during Gilgamesh's death scene, I could not, it didn't emotionally affect me like I wish it would have. I wish I would have had time to really sit with him and with Athena and really get to know the relationship and understand him and his role, but it was just like, okay, on to the next scene. And I think that's my critique, really, is that it just doesn't have that impact I wish it did. Now, I will say this. So, like, they write a fine line. I really enjoyed the ending credit scenes. I think that they did a good job splitting up the group, giving us people in different places where we can now explore them a bit more on a smaller scale than having all these, each of them together, where they can maybe pop into other movies and stuff like that, and we can get to, see them a bit more before, bringing them all back to. I'm hoping at some point they'll all come back together, and it'll be exciting to see that. I really enjoyed the Icarus thing. I did not necessarily see that coming, but thinking back on it now, I'm like, oh yeah, duh. But him literally flying into the sun, very, very appropriate. I would have liked to have a bit more emotional hit there, but I just didn't have enough time to really, like, even him being one of the main ones I got to know, I didn't have enough time to really get to know him to, like, it still was, like, a little bit sad, but it wasn't like, oh, man, that's hard to watch. And sometimes that's okay. But overall, I don't think this movie is, like, top tier Marvel. I don't think it's bottom tier Marvel. When I saw the reviews coming out as, like, really, really low, I think it was in the 50%, I was like, okay, it cannot be that bad. And it was not that bad. Um, I think that I'm wondering if like critics expect to get like a another Infinity War Endgame right off the bat, or like I mean like I think back to some of the like great Marvel movies that exist, but you know I'm okay with them doing some of these like movies that are like, yeah, that was fine. I enjoyed it. I had a good time watching it for a couple hours. And I'm okay with that because I'm excited to get all these pieces put into place so that they can start being moved. Because there's a lot of rebuilding that has to happen from, especially if they want to do even, something bigger than Infinity War and Endgame combined, like that together. They want to do something bigger in the long term. Like, they need to have more pieces on the board and more pieces moving independently of each other. And I'm okay with getting some of those setups. I'm okay with, watching a 2-hour movie and be like, yeah, I wonder how I'll look back on this in, 10 years when we have, another 20, 30 movies plus Disney Plus shows out to give context to this, to make it, more intricate and, have those moments be a bit more deep and kind of see where they got started. So I'm excited to see what happens next. I have not, at this point, I enjoy going and watching these movies. I think they're a good time. I can understand why people don't. I get it. But I personally enjoy it. I think it's fun. I'm excited to see where these pieces get set up. I'm excited to see a more intricate and even crazier story be told throughout the course of, however long the MCU lasts. So I think that'll be it for this one. I'm interested to know what other people's thoughts were on this movie. I've heard a lot of my friends have said that they really enjoyed it, especially the ones who know about the comics. But I'm interested to know what everyone else thinks and whether or not you guys enjoyed it or didn't like it at all. So hope to hear from you guys soon. Thanks.